What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Mac from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and this, at least on my channel, is my first TV show review. But I wanted to honor Halo with the honor of being my first show where the pilot is worth making a video of, because it's been a long time coming. I'm fairly certain I could see when they first announced the Halo show way back in the day. I swear it was going to be on like Microsoft, like their own thing, that they were going to create like a streaming service for it or something and run it on there. Or maybe it was PlayStation. It was like a gaming service, like actually announced the Halo series first. I know it. I want to say Microsoft because that's where the Halo games live. And then it just spent years in like development hell, and then finally it like Showtime's doing Halo, and then it just sat there for a while. And then recently we found out that Showtime was moving Halo to Paramount Plus, and you would assume that meant like more time, and you're like, oh god, now Paramount Plus has to. But here we are. It actually happened. They actually made a Halo TV series, so congratulations on that. Yeah, it's one of the biggest video game franchises of all time. And there's that trepidation about adapting anything that's video game into anything. So, because traditionally, adaptations to screen of video game franchises aren't very good. So I think people were both excited and also terrified for Halo. And I think this is one of those things that's really hard. I'm just grading the pilot. I haven't seen the whole season. And since I'm not technically recognized yet, I want to be as a real critic, I didn't get the second episode. I didn't get the screener that everybody got to where they could see into the future. So this is just the first episode, the review of the first episode. But really, whether or not this series works, or whether or not we like the series, will actually be determined over the first season, and I will get into why. So the Halo pilot finds us on a remote planet. We find this colony, and if you don't know anything about Halo, the colony actually starts giving you quite a bit of exposition about the universe. They start talking about Spartans and Marines, and sort of the culture. What year it's set in. It's like 25 something, and really far in the future, which is interesting because like people were playing cards and watching things on screens, and I was like, man, not a lot has changed in 500 years. Okay. Yeah, so they do some exposition, that beginning group of people, to introduce you into the world of Halo if you know nothing about Halo. Of course, if you do know something about Halo, this quickly becomes fan service, like really fast. The colony ends up getting raided by aliens. Of course, those are aliens that we know far too well. And then, as a response, I guess, to the alien invasion, here come the Spartans. And they drop down, and they've got their armor on, and they're doing battle, and they're trying to save these colonists that are just getting massacred because they don't have the weapons or the armor that the Spartans have. And then we find out, of course, one of these is Master Chief, and he's got his little crew with them. They all have sort of interchangeable names, and they seem to be going the Trolls route, where they're all sort of defined by color, where each one of them, their armor is a different color, where you're defined by what you look like on the outside. Okay. Like a Power Ranger, you know what I'm saying? Like we're doing that a little bit here. I guess to make them easier on being able to distinguish for a visual audience. They all have different colors for their armor. Which is fine because you can do that in Halo. You can customize your own armor and have different colors. So that's a real video game thing that you can do, is choose your armor. And they find this alien artifact, and they end up returning back to their home base / gigantic Halo city on planet Reach. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, Halo Reach. They did it. Yeah, the whole thing is just fan service. And anyway, so the plot plays out, and you start learning a little bit more about the characters, and some stuff happens that sort of leaves you in the lurch for the next episode and where this is headed. I think they spent so much time trying to set it up and get us ready for the thing. I was never actually quite connected to any of the characters. I spent so much time paying attention to the technology and the settings and the, is this Halo accurate type stuff, and really listening to the audio description and thinking about, okay, so I'm about to tell a blind audience, predominantly, largely, likely a blind audience who's never seen or played Halo. Does this work for you? The thing about this kind of genre is, every time I talk with my blind friends or any sort of blind audience, typically the genre that they stay away from the most are sci-fi action films. I talked about that in my review of The Atom Project. Either because the fight scenes in action films are poorly described, or the science fiction elements in a sci-fi film are underdescribed. They end up being the things in terms of movies and TV shows that tend to be looked over or passed over the most by blind and visually impaired audiences. So, is the audio description good? That is a tough question. I think it could be better. If I'm being 100% honest on this, I think it could be better. And that's only because, again, I come from both worlds. I did used to be able to see, and I totally played Halo. And that's why I was really excited about this. So I thought about this from a fan perspective, but also that fan perspective gave me those images that are still ingrained in my head as to what these characters look like, what this world looks like, what these weapons look like, what these aliens look like. And all of that knowledge led me to believe that this film is underdescribed. I think, in general, you can never overdescribe an alien race. Even if we're getting, I understand that a lot of times we're breaking for dialogue, and we're breaking for things. So you may have to find creative ways of telling us, like the alien with his scaly skin turns and looks at, the blue alien turns and stares at, you have to find ways of every time just giving little more hints so that we're piecing together the alien, which is considerably 4 feet taller, however much taller than, because they're listed as being big, but like how big? Like big is like infinite. Big could be, are they like a Pacific Rim, like are they, is this like Godzilla big, or like what's big to you? Like what does that mean? So big also means like weight and muscle size. Maybe they're the same height, but they're just, they look like they could be MMA fighters. So it just has to be a little bit more descriptive, because with aliens, your mind wanders and it starts filling in gaps. And it may not be the gaps. It may just be anything. And since we see so many things in media that have aliens, we're just constantly coming up with things. And when people who have been blind since birth have zero point of reference on this kind of stuff, it's just, there just isn't a way to over-describe. There isn't a way to over-describe an alien race. As much as you can possibly give is the best way to go. As far as some of the other elements of the film, I think most notably, it was just like Halo specific things to me. I would say like the energy sword, for example, is poorly described because I know what an energy sword looks like. And the way that it's described, it just sort of comes out and they're like, he uses his energy sword. Cool. If you know what an energy sword is, if you played Halo, if you want to assume that every person who uses audio description at one point played Halo, yeah, but you have to remember that a lot of the people who use audio description are using it because they can't see the energy sword. And it's unlikely that they played Halo. So if I were to ask somebody, I have a feeling that I would get, oh, it's like a lightsaber. It's not like a lightsaber. It's not supposed to be shaped like a lightsaber at all. It's something that's completely different. So for somebody to have that feeling would be wrong. When this film goes out of its way to serve fans accuracy, so that way it can be a solid video game adaptation. I mean, my favorite part was like I almost like cried because in the battle sequence when the guy the Spartan gets shot too many times and his armor has been depleted and he has to wait for it to recharge. Those are the video game sound effects too. I was just like, oh my God, not only is this video game accurate, but those are the same sound effects from the video game. It was like, I remembered it, like it was like right there and it brought me back and it took me back and it made me so happy. Like if I was a dog, I'd be wagging my tail in that scene. So I just want a blind and visually impaired audience to have that experience, especially if they're unfamiliar with the franchise. I want them to have the ability to love Halo the same way they can love Game of Thrones and some of those other series. This has so much potential to be the next big thing. I already just before doing this review, I just read a news article that Halo broke the viewership record at Paramount Plus. It's already their most watched debut drop. So it's beaten, I guess, all other Star Trek series and The Good Fight and all those other series. So this is a big deal for them. And it's probably going to be around for a while as long as the rest of the season plays out okay and doesn't dip in quality. So there's just a few things. Just remember that when you're describing science fiction and science fiction elements and things that don't exist in the real world and we have no real world basis for them, that over describing often key elements is a good thing. Because otherwise our imagination is doing all of the work and our imagination can be very wrong. And sometimes people don't like their imagination to do all the work. So, because then two people have two completely different ideas as to what something is. So there's that thought too. Anyway, I really like the show. I'm really happy for its bright future. I want to know more about these characters. I want to be more connected to them in future episodes. Although I sometimes have this problem a lot with pilots that have a really strong concept and universe to introduce us to. And it takes generally the next couple episodes after the pilot for us to really embrace the characters. It's hard to sell you on both this new expansive world and character development in the pilot. Some shows do it successfully. I would argue actually that Game of Thrones did it successfully. It introduced you to characters while also introducing you to the world. So it is possible, but Halo spent a huge amount of time in its action sequence. And I think that action sequence really paid off because I think it got fans right out of the gate. So kudos. I'm excited. I'm going to give Halo, the pilot, an A-. That's that. I'm really excited for the rest of the season. We'll see how it plays out. I might come back at the end of season 1 and do another review, but I'm not going to review every single episode. I'm not one of those guys. But I might come back and check up on the totality of season 1 and how successful I thought the whole thing was. But if you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Head over to MacTheMovieGuy.com for more movie reviews from me. And as always, you can check out the audio description project and see what they got over there, see what's audio described. You can see what else Paramount Plus has for audio description or whatever other streaming services you've got, and find something to watch. They're a great resource and a great tool, so head on over there for that. But until next time, Master Chief out.